Hello, welcome to Take a Wonder with Shebs. I have to go straight away into the title of the show today, which is called Why I Won't Travel to Pakistan. Now, before we go into the real reasons why I've put that title on, I do want to travel to Pakistan, but there are circumstances surrounding it that won't allow me to do so. And this is why I wanted to discuss this on my podcast. I thought this was a topic that hasn't widely been discussed within the media, within the travel media, and this is where I think the topic and the subject matter needs to be looked into a bit more. And just to be upfront, what I'm about to share is my personal perspective. It's based on my own experiences, conversations I've had with people from both communities, and what I've learned through my research. You can support the channel by heading over to www.shebsthewanderer.com and hover over to the store tab and click. You can then buy various items from t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, even water bottles or phone cases. If you have any questions, you can send me a message through the contact tab. Let's go into the details of why I can't travel to Pakistan. Now, there are two reasons behind it. One's a bit deeper, one's quite straightforward in terms of visa requirements. When you think about Pakistan, you think about the landscape itself. It's a dream for any mountaineers. The Himalayas, you've got the K2 mountains, a photographer's dream as well. You've also got the culture, the food, everything about it. Now, being a British but having a Bangladeshi background is the problem. I've been to India. I went to India back in 2018 and there was a slight issue with my visa at the time, and I mentioned it once on one of my podcasts with Ash Bardwaj very briefly, and I said there was an issue getting my visa, but I didn't go into details. Having a Bangladeshi background, once you travel to Pakistan, I can't go into India. It's as straightforward as that. The authorities and the government will think you've got a affiliation with the country. They may think that you are going to be a threat to India, a massive threat that they can't risk you going in. If I was just British, white British, black British, any other ethnicity, I will be able to go to Pakistan and still be able to go to India. Now, you may be asked, why did you go to Pakistan or why did you travel there if they see your stamp? But having that Bengali background is the big problem. People know about the history between India and Pakistan, but not everyone knows the history between Bangladesh and Pakistan. And this is where the deep-rooted reasons for me not traveling there comes. Now, travel media hasn't really discussed or tackled the topic between Bangladesh, Pakistan and the India border reasons or border visa issues. And when I tried to get my e-visa, there was an issue. I made the mistake of putting down, historically, there was a Pakistani background. And that was red flag number one for anyone in the Indian embassy to think, right, okay, he's got a Pakistani background, we can't let him in. But then I realized, actually, no, that's not the case. I don't have a Pakistani background. My background is from Bangladesh. And I explained this to them on the phone and said, no, sorry, your application is going to be denied, or my e-visa application anyway. So I thought, okay, let me go into the embassy itself. Went in, the woman behind the desk, she denied my application again. And I couldn't figure out, at the time, as I said, I was in my early 30s and I still didn't quite understand what was going on, why my application was denied. And in the end, I had to go to an agency in London actually, and they put my application through and there was no problem, I got it, but it cost a lot of money just to get an application that shouldn't have cost. I think I spent over £100 to get my visa, and I needed that visa because I was flying out the following day. I was doing a big travel to South America and then eventually finishing in India, and I needed that visa before I left because I wasn't going back to the UK. But I also explained to them that should it have mattered being a British citizen, British passport? They said no, it shouldn't do. Then again, the geopolitics behind it all and the complex reasons behind it all is why there was a problem. They will think, right, okay, if I've got a background, Pakistani background, then he could potentially do something when he comes to our country. That's the reason why they were denying my application. Eventually I did go to India, and when I went to India, there was no issues at the border. I was let in and I had a wonderful time in India, and there was no problems with anyone asking me any questions. And when people asked me where my background was, I said I was from Bangladesh. My background was from Bangladesh. They said, oh yes, We love the Bangladeshis, absolutely love them. However, I did get people who were working in tourism, by the way, saying this, oh yeah, we hate Pakistan. I hate Pakistanis. That was a common thing. We're talking about people who worked in tourism and they were saying this. So this was really sad to hear, but I also got why they were saying it as well, because of the history and everything. But history was such a long time ago, people don't forget though either, and it's something that is deep rooted. Now, it has been well documented in the media about the animosity between India and Pakistan. Does everyone know the unspoken real reason why there's a tension between the Pakistanis and Bangladeshis? Well, if you don't, this is where you're going to find out why. Going back again, I am British born, class myself as British, and not being able to pick and choose when I can go to India, when I can go to Pakistan, that's a dilemma that I don't like being in. But whether anything will change that, I don't think it's going to be likely, because you're having to challenge the governments in India. And it goes back to the 1971 genocide, which is widely regarded as one of the worst times for Bangladesh, because there was there's estimations between 300,000 to potentially 3 million deaths. That's how high the number was. For those that don't know the history, let me break it down for you. After the partition of British India in 1947, two separate territories were created to form West Pakistan and East Pakistan. These two halves were separated by over 1,000 miles of India. From the start, East Pakistan was treated like a colony. The West was in control and they systematically exploited the economy, resources and the people. They even tried to force Bengali-speaking population to adopt Urdu, which is the language of West Pakistan, which led to Bengali language movement in 1952. In 1970, people of East Pakistan voted overwhelmingly for the party Awami League, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, but the military government in West Pakistan refused to hand over power, and that's when everything changed. And from March 25th, 1971, that's when everything started in terms of the genocide itself. Pakistani military launched a brutal campaign called Operation Searchlight. Their goal was to crush the Bengali nationalist movement. What followed, as I said, was a spree of murders. A span of 9 months, and the Pakistani army, with the help of local collaborators, killed up to estimated 3 million Bengalis. They targeted intellectuals, students and minorities. They raped hundreds of thousands of women and girls. Over 10 million people fled as refugees into India. This was not a war of choice, it was a systematic, brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing. And to cut a long story short here, the Pakistanis were in favour by the British government and the US government, which is when India and the Soviet Union helped out the Bangladeshis or the East Pakistanis and fought and won the war, and that's when the independence came. When I said it was deep-rooted, what I meant was that my granddad from my father's side and my uncle from my father's side were taken to be murdered, and eventually they found a way of getting out, but it left scars. It wasn't just my father's side, my cousins, their dad has told me stories about being lined up to be shot by the military, and I use that word actually, the Pakistani military, and I'm sure not every Pakistani would have been in favour of what was happening. But unfortunately, it left a scar and it left animosity between one another. And growing up here in the UK, I didn't quite understand it because I was raised British. I had two values, so the Bangladeshi community values and the British values as well. Going to the schools here, I particularly didn't really have many Pakistani friends or British Pakistani friends. But when I was older, I met quite a few of them, and I thought nothing of it at the time, didn't really know too much of the history, and I even lived with a British Pakistani, and I thought we were great friends, living with him. We used to go out, everything. However, when we were parting ways and moving out, he sent me a text one day saying, "I don't talk to people like you," which I didn't understand what he meant by that. So I repeat what I said. He said, "I don't talk to people like you." I didn't understand what that meant, but then when someone explained it to me, that this has got to be to do with the fact that
there's a history. I thought, surely not. This is a guy that never lived through that moment. But what I found out was a lot of the kids within the family get told the history of what happened, and because of that history, they still keep it in their mind that there was an issue between both countries and we're not friends. As a person from a Bangladeshi background, I have no issues with Pakistanis at all. I remember I was in Mexico in 2018 and I met a family from the US, but they had the Pakistani background. So they asked me, oh, where's your background? And I said, oh, it's from Bangladesh. And immediately I got the look and they, oh, it's such a shame. But that has happened more and more and more. And again, I go back to living with a guy. And in the end, if I look back on it, he was maybe slightly distant, but should he have been the way he was by sending me a text once we left, I don't talk to you, or I don't talk to people like you? What really sort of made me upset was the fact that he got married, he had his wedding. I found out later on and I asked him, hey, you got married, what happened? And he just said to me, oh, sorry, it was a small family wedding, which I know was a lie because Pakistani cultures will never have a small wedding. I don't, especially if you're marrying someone from a Pakistani background as well. So I don't believe that. And I can also tell you, one of my cousins married a British Pakistani, and the only people that came to the wedding was my cousin's now husband, parents, and no one else turned up. So and this was a couple of years ago, by the way, so that tells you again, it's a very geopolitical issue that doesn't get widely discussed. Now, I have gone through quite a lot there. I've spoken about the visa, the border situation, the tension between India and Pakistan, the tension between Bangladeshis and Pakistanis. It's a complex and very, very deep-rooted issue. Geopolitics is real. If you don't know what it is, this is what it is. And are there solutions behind it? Can something be done? I think the only thing we can do is discuss it more and more within the media. I can discuss it, people can ask me questions. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. So if you want to get in touch with me, please do so. Until that discussion is had more and more within the media, then it will open up the topic, hopefully, to the governments and people who make the decisions. I'd like to thank everyone for watching and listening to this episode, and we'll hope to see you very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to never miss an episode, and watch all my previous episodes from the show. You can follow me on all my social media platforms. You can also become a patron of the channel and support me on my journey in producing more of these shows. The link is in the description.